Welcome to the Steve and Cimino Says Boom Show, issue number 22 on the Pop XP podcast. Steve, what do we got to give them?
Boom!
Hey everyone, welcome to Pop XP. And before the show starts, make sure to click that subscribe button and click the bell to get notifications when we go live and we upload awesome new content. And don't forget, if you can, make sure to share our stream on all your social media outlets. We appreciate it, and thanks for helping us grow the Pop XP channel.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Steve and Cimino Says Boom Show on the Pop XP. Down below us, we got the man of the hour, Niall. What do people need to know? Fill them in.
People need to know that we got a great show tonight. Let me tell you what, because you know what? I had to tell you, tonight's show has me thinking of holidays. You know why? Because holidays they're annual events, right? Something that comes once a year that we can look forward to. And in the world of comics, man, we have annual events. And before we get into those annual events, my friends, make sure to look below, click that subscribe button, smash that bell to get notifications, to get uploads and notifications when we have great new episodes like this. So, gentlemen, please, what annual event do we have tonight?
Oh, okay. Steve. I got a little ego, and Steve knows that. And last episode, Steve was saying his thing on Thor. Yeah, and I like that. And I was listening, and I love when Steve talks. But John likes to talk too, and sometimes too much. But sometimes too much, but not too much for an annual, that as Niall tried to allude to. Steve, okay. We've been doing this for 22 episodes now, and we've forgotten to talk about forgot to talk about one guy, and we both love this guy, a guy by the name of Roger Stern. Now, Steve, before I go into this, how good is that guy at writing? Come on, so underrated.
For me, Roger Stern's run on the Hulk and the Avengers are almost untouchable. And of course, Roger Stern's issue with the Hulk, I think it's issue 227, where Doc Samson is doing the
psychiatric stuff.
The psychiatric is one of the most powerful, magnificent issues. I told when I was younger, I didn't have a lot of money. I took that comic. I had a British reprint. I took it to a place where they could make copies for me, blow them up a little bit, and I had those pages on my wall.
Oh, wait, Steve, I got one further for you. I used to bring that to grammar school. Steve, I used to bring that to grammar school, and we used to show how the Hulk crushed Mjolnir, and we didn't know it was really a dream sequence, but on the playground, I put this, like, I used to bring that issue around, so that's another thing.
Believe you me, when I went into the army, at my bed space, that page where Hulk has got Banner finally, and is holding him up like this, I had that on my wall. So yeah, when it comes to Roger Stern, I have a special place in my heart for Roger Stern. Roger Stern, of course, his run on the Avengers, as far as I'm concerned, it's up. It's just a little bit below Roy.
Yeah.
I mean, okay.
And and obviously his Spider-Man is fantastic too, but his Hulk, I didn't appreciate it as much until I got older. I love those comics, but when I got older and I started reading it, he wrote the Hulk so strong, so good. His dialogue, oh my God. Him and Bill Mantlo was there too. Like, he came in after. But Roger Stern's run, like when Tyrannus, remember that, and the Flame, and finally finished that little mystery off. Yes, great stuff. So, what I have today, this was in 1979, the height of the Incredible Hulk's popularity. Because if anybody out there knows, Lou Ferrigno and Bill Bixby was the Hulk TV series was on late nights on Friday nights, right before Dallas. I think it was at 8 o'clock. You got to understand how big that series was. It was one of the biggest. It made the Incredible Hulk one of the most probably could be arguably the biggest character in the world at that time, because for the mass media, because of all the normal people watching that show was huge. And then a lot of that spilled over into the Hulk comic books. Remember Marvel's TV sensation, Steve, on the thing? Oh, it was so good to read that. So good. And actually, that issue you were just talking about, 227, is the first time they put that symbol, Marvel's TV sensation, on the Hulk comic book. And I remember that. Awesome. Herb Trimpe cover too, right, Steve? Herb Trimpe cover.
That's right.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah. But I'm going to talk about Roger Stern, and who did co-writing on this was John Byrne, and the art was Sal Buscema. Oh, at his finest. Now this annual number 8, The Incredible Hulk. Niall, can you put up this cover? This was such an incredible story because it was in the vein of the Hulk TV series, but yet not so, with the superpowered, the exaggeration of what comics should be. And Roger Stern meshed it so perfectly that when I read this, I understood. And you got, like I said, the Bill Bixby aspect of it, and then you got yet the regular Incredible Hulk comic aspect of it, and then the art was phenomenal. And it was such a touching story. It just shows you the genius. I wonder how much Byrne and Roger Stern really did on this, but I would have to say, in my opinion, because I'm pretty good at Byrne's dialogue and Roger Stern. I think Roger Stern did most of the dialogue in here, and it was maybe more plotted out by John Byrne. That's what I get out of it in the field, because the words, Roger Stern. And I want to just tell you this. A few years ago, I was walking down the hall. It was at I forget what convention it was. It must have been like, maybe 4 or 5 years ago. And Roger Stern was coming down. And I looked at him, and I always felt bad for Roger Stern, because he never got that big of a crowd, and he never, he was at his table talking to people. Some people signed that stuff, but he never had lines or anything. But he was walking down, and I said, "Hey, Roger Stern," and he goes, "Hey." I go, I just put out my hand. I just want you to know, I think you're one of the greatest comic writers ever, and I think you are probably the best Hulk writer ever. And he said to me, "Thank you so much," and all that. I go, "I just wanted to tell you that," and I go, I just know that there's people out here that will never forget your work. And he was so appreciative of it. And then I went, and he went, and all that stuff. But it was so nice to see that. But like, because like I said, I wanted him to know, regardless if he had huge lines or not. But his stuff will always be in mind. Okay, so now let's get to the annual right now. Okay, first page. Sasquatch. Ooh, Steve. This could be Steve in the morning. He could be called a Sasquatch in the morning. You never know, Steve, when Steve, after a big day of lifting, Steve, and all that, before you get into the shower, you could be considered a Sasquatch. Okay, it starts right here. The Hulk is flying. You see, look at I love it. You gotta remember, this is just common folk, because in the Hulk series, the television series, he always appeared in a new town and all that stuff, and it was about Hulk dealing with the common folk and what Americana. So you see two people here fishing and all that, and you see this meteor thing coming in the sky, and they're like, "Hey, what's that?" Next page. And who is it? Our ever Incredible Hulk. And I think, if I'm correct, if you look on the bottom there, it says that these are the events that happened after, when he fought Machine Man. Do you remember those 3 issues, Steve?
Oh my God. Yeah, believe you me, that sequence where the Hulk is gassed and he can't move. And he's there for a moment, but then when he moves, the whole house is exploded. Oh.
Steve, the first time I ever read those issues was in do you remember? I don't know, maybe Niall, you'll remember this. You remember that it was a department store called Zayre, Zayre, and it was basically like what a Walgreens is today and all that stuff.
Mhm.
But Steve, I got that 3-pack off. My mom was at the counter putting the stuff on there, and hanging from a rack, usually like we could get, was a 3-pack. And it was that 3-pack of that Machine Man story. It had those 3 issues in it. My mom got it for me. I think it was like $1. Oh my God, blew my mind. Okay, so this is the events that happened straight after. Steve, my God, I don't know how we. This is the stuff the stuff that we have together, and we like lusted over. It's incredible. Okay, so the Hulk is flying. This is right after those events, and then he crashes into the ground over there. Boom. Next page. Girl in a cabin, maybe getting away from life and all that stuff. She hears the boom, goes outside. Notice the flannel shirts. Do you notice the flannel shirt? Because remember, Bill Bixby always had the flannel shirts and all that stuff. That's a little people don't realize, but that's a little homage to the Hulk series. Okay, next page. Look at that. Look at the size. And she's like, what is that? Look at the mask. That's Sal Buscema. I want to kiss the guy. It's so unbelievable. And she sees this. She doesn't really recognize it's the Hulk. I don't know how, but maybe she doesn't. She's been in the wilderness and all that stuff. She wants to see what's going on here. Next page now. Look at that. Look at just the stuff. So she thinks that like he's going to suffocate. So that's why she's trying to lift him. Look at that. Look at the second to last panel, lifting that huge arm. Like she's just trying to help him. And she's thinking like, oh my God, he's going to die. He's going to die. Next page now. What she ended up doing was digging a little piece of the like the side so he could breathe. But the Hulk couldn't. He didn't need to breathe. But the funny thing is, it just shows you her concern. She's there with her cat and stuff, and the Hulk just basically fell asleep. It's not like the fall hurt him or anything, but he falls asleep. So he gets up. He's a little bit, little agitated because is this another puny human that's going to bother him or stuff? So he goes up to her, and he's like, are you bothering me, or like, are you trying to help me? And she runs off screaming like the Hulk's tragic life. Next page now. She runs, she hurts herself, and the Hulk's kind of following her, but he's saying like, like she's telling him, don't hurt me. I tried to help you so you wouldn't suffocate. And then you see in the third panel there, the Hulk goes, suffocate? Like in his primitive mind, he understands that she was trying to help him. So the Hulk picks him. Look at that second to last panel, and even look at the last panel. Look at the back. Look at like Sal Buscema drew the feet on the Hulk so good. Like it was just the prototypical Hulk. He was so good at drawing the Hulk that you couldn't deny him. He was almost as impactful as me. Him and Herb Trimpe, they both had such long runs on the Hulk that it became part of it just became part of your psyche. It's Sal Buscema. Every time I see Sal Buscema, I think of the Hulk. Same thing with Trimpe, but like I know he's done a million different other things, but I always think of the Hulk. Okay, next page now. Okay, so basically what's going on, and he's in Canada and stuff. You got Department H going on there, and they're looking at their Alpha Flight has been formed. This is definitely the John Byrne part of it, because they're showcasing his Alpha Flight and all that. Alpha Flight wasn't a series yet, right, Steve? Alpha Flight came right.
Yeah,
I think this is
because Alpha Flight comes out in '82.
Yes, and I think this is more like after the X-Men stuff, and he's showcasing his characters and all that stuff. Once again, this just shows me the plotting and all that was probably more Byrne, and the dialogue part was all more Roger Stern and story structure. But anyways, they're basically the Hulks out there. I love the little comparison. You got the 7 feet tall. That's what the Hulk is supposed to be. 7 feet, 1,040 pounds. That's it. I don't want all this other shit, and he's always morphing. I read the Marvel universes and all that stuff. It drives me nuts. But look, and then you got the 10-foot Sasquatch. That's basically like almost me and Steve standing next to each other. So basically what they want is to capture the Hulk. So they're looking at Dr. What was his name? Wolkowski?
Langowski.
Yeah, Langowski. Like I know. So next page. So what they're going to do is basically they get Doctor. Oh my God, Steve, it's going to kill me. Say it again.
Yeah, Langowski.
Lenkowski, right? And he knew when the history you find out that he knew Bruce Banner, right? Didn't he know him from the past? They were both like geniuses and all that. They crossed paths before and stuff. And he was a big time scholar and all that stuff. And now they're basically like the Hulk is out there. We got Sasquatch now, and it's just like this would be a good comparison to see how good Sasquatch really is. That's what basically this is all about. It was not more of a rescue mission, it was more of a test for Sasquatch. So next page. So here we go back. She's showing the Hulk. Look at the Hulk in this room. Room small, too small for Hulk. Yeah, I love that shit. Oh my God. And so she sees the Hulk. She has him calm, sit down. And Hulk is always nervous in these small rooms. I love that because he doesn't trust anything. He needs, the Hulk is like a force of nature to be confined in like this little house and all that. But she's trying to help him and like, she look at the back. Look at the last panel. Like you just see his traps and all that stuff. And I love the face. Like he's just like, he still doesn't trust, but he's liking this. The Hulk is a tragic character. When he gets this type of affection, he can't. And she's being really nice. So next page now.
Before I don't know about you guys, but with page 16 here, I just stopped after reading it and just stared at panel 1.
How can you not?
Just looking at Buscema's Hulk. I mean, I it's unbelievable.
Now the difference is I probably stared at this for 4 days straight, so it's pretty ingrained in my mind. And then obviously, calming the Hulk down, he's trusting her. His rage is settling, and then obviously the transformation. Sal Buscema and Herb Trimpe, I mean, they did it like nobody else. Nobody else's business. It's just so ingrained in my head. And then there you see the Hulk changing into Bruce Banner. He's calmed down. It's so subtle, so wonderfully told, and obviously the dialogue is great. She's still nervous. So basically she tells him what happened and what's going on and that stuff. And Banner's always the caring guy. You got the a la Bill Bixby stuff. You can see the whole thing going on here. Okay, then it crosses over back to Dr. Langowski. And so basically what he's doing, see, the thing with Langowski, he did love like Bruce Banner's power, and he liked to be Sasquatch because he liked that type of power. So he was always eager to get in there. He was always like he wasn't reluctant in it in any way. So here he is. He's meditating and he's trying to control his transformation, and boom, he becomes the Sasquatch. Next page. Okay. Basically, what they ended up doing is they ended up sending Langowski, like he transformed into go back for a second. I have to say one thing. So he's right here in the back of the copter, and then he changes into Sasquatch, and then he jumps out of the helicopter. I didn't add that page because you just see him jumping out of the helicopter, and he comes. And so basically he shows up where the next page then now, where the girl. So he sees the girl and he sees Banner and all that stuff. They located him, and basically he picks up the girl. Banner wants to shoot him, and then like he says, like, what am I doing? He goes, I don't do this stuff. And then he starts talking. They're telling him what's going on, and basically conversing him. But this is the part about this I love in this series. Langowski is an asshole, and he knows he's out there to do. Yes, he's out there to
he's a responsible scientist, and he's going to play to some ego that's deep inside him. It's going to make a mess. But when I read it, I was like, what are you doing?
Yes, he's kind of going against what he's supposed to do, and he's liking this. So next page now. So basically, well, look at this. So basically, he lets the girl go away, and then look at the third panel there. That's Steve pushing me around. That's not fair. And you see him like he's a doctor, but yet now he's got this extraordinary power. And like Steve said, he's got an ego going, and he's just saying like, but what would happen if come on, Banner. So what's he start doing? He starts tossing him around. Like I said, what a prick. Like it's just one of just he's so smart, but now he's got the power to back it up. So you got this genius, and Banner doesn't want this to go on. So what a prick. Go ahead, next. I was so mad. So this is what got me mad. He's throwing Banner out there, and Banner's telling him, don't do this. Don't, because I don't want to change. So look at this guy. Look at that fourth panel. He's holding him over the ledge here. And then she's coming, and she's like, leave him alone, leave him alone. And then what happens? The shirt rips, and he falls. Now, wait a second. Remember this page, because this is going to all come back full circle. It's an accident, so go to the next page now. So there's Bruce Banner falling. And she's crying like, you killed him. And Lingowski there is just saying like, it was an accident. I didn't mean to do it. It's like, yeah, but you were being a prick the whole time. It's like, it was so his fault. But he's just like, but you have to understand. Look at him in the third panel. I didn't mean to. And then, incredible. Look who's coming. Now business is now. Now Steve can't push me around so much now. Now he can't. So the Hulk comes back. You look at him. Look, I just love the wilderness. I love everything about that. But Hulk is pissed now because he actually thinks like he knows he's pushing him around. And then what does he say? He said Banner. And once he said Banner, look at the rage in that third panel. The Hulk's just like, let's go.
Yeah, he's coming. He's barreling.
And look,
I mean, the inking of Alfredo Akala
oh,
is really giving it that darkness. It's not like a Joe Sinnott inking.
no.
This is a much more visceral, darker piece. I mean, and the body language. Believe you me, I stared at that panel for hours, and I love it. I just love that panel.
Steve, look at the Hulk's hair too in that panel.
Yes.
Look like that. His hair is just messed up. It shows raging fury, right? Okay, yes. So the Hulk attacks him. Boom. Go ahead. Next page now. So they're fighting back and forth. Look at this punch in the second panel that the Hulk hits him with. First off, Sal Buscema is so good at this stuff. Look at look at the top panel. As the Hulk lands on him, right? Look at his arm way back. You see his arm already cocked and ready to go? And then you see the punch. And it always drove me nuts when an artist would draw him, somebody gearing up for the punch, and then in the next panel, you see him using the other fist. They make that mistake. I never saw that with Sal Buscema. He was always doing the right thing. Look at that. So anyways, now Sasquatch is thinking like, Jesus, like, wow. He goes, this is me, he's pretty strong, So he has to take some trees, and look at the last panel, that slam. Look at Sal Buscema. Unbelievable. He was such the quintessential Marvel artist. So primed and ready. Look at that. Oh, so good. Okay,
his
now next
perspective
page
is on point. Every time he poses Hulk and everything, it's unbelievable.
Look at but reading this as a kid, look at that top panel, and then look at the next panel. Like, are you kidding me? Look at how mad he is. Now this, Steve, you're talking about those pages you looked forever. When I was a kid looking at this, look at this. Just look at the third panel as the Hulk is holding that. Look at that. And see how his fist is cocked there? And then boom, boom, boom. And but look what he's saying. It's just like, he goes, so Lingowski now is saying, I'm learning a lot about your strength now. He's noticing that he's not, but look what the Hulk says in the third to last panel. Learned? What have you learned? That you are stronger than the Hulk? The Hulk is understanding what he's doing. It's an ego thing. But look, what's the next page now? No! So, boom, he crushes that. And she's getting scared now. Lingowski's hitting that. And he's thinking now. All of a sudden, Steve, when you fight the Hulk, what is his power? What? And he's getting mad. What is his power?
Yeah, I mean, if you don't take him out, he's going to get stronger and stronger. He may start off stronger, like the Abomination. Yep. But if that fight continues on, he is going to beat you. He's just going to beat his strength level is going to surpass you.
Yes. And so that's what Lingowski is starting to learn. So he hits him with the thing, and he's trying to end it. If you look at what he says, he goes, we're going to end this right now. The Hulk just looking, he's like, ending? Bah. How can fight be over if you are still alive? And he's like, I don't believe it. And he goes, and then look what he says when the Hulk attacks him again. And now he's stronger than ever. Now Lingowski is starting, his ego, the bully, which he thought, it's starting to pan a little bit now. Next page now. And look at those, the classic panels. Look at the boom, boom, boom. But what is he learning now? The Hulk is getting madder. Every punch is getting stronger. He's starting to hit harder. He's going to recover. He's healing and all his stuff when his rage is up. So look at Langowski goes down. And now Langowski, the Hulk's coming in. He's not stopping. He's raging. He's coming for the kill. You start, and he's finishing. Next page now. So here Langowski gets out of the way. The rocks all crash. The Hulk is so strong now. The mountains and all the hills are starting to crumble. But Sasquatch sees that the girl is getting the rocks are coming over her. So he's doing the heroic thing, and he's just like she's going to be crushed. So the Hulk sees that. Look at that little Hulk in the last panel. He's seeing with his mouth open. He's like, what is he doing? Like you can see I love it. Next page now. The Hulk is pissed because he doesn't really. The Hulk is raging. He's going crazy. He's not really thinking of anything, and all he's thinking about is that he's attacking her. Sasquatch is attacking her. He doesn't realize all the damage he's doing, and so he's going after Sasquatch for hitting her. So this tons and thousands of tons of rock go. Look at the Hulk's feet. Oh my God, Sal Buscema, I love you, man. Oh, so good. And then. After a few minutes and all that, Langowski comes up. He saved her and the cat and all that stuff. So he's looking around. He's starting to realize, I made an error here. I was too arrogant. I shouldn't have done that. But little does he realize, and now he thinks that maybe the Hulk is dead. Can the Hulk die? We don't even know if he can, because next page now, the Hulk comes up and he's looking for him. Now this is where it takes full circle here. This is what makes, yes, it was all action, but this is what makes the Hulk, a Hulk story. The Hulk's coming down and he's saying, put her down, we're going at it. And he goes, and Hulk wants to smash you forever. Look at that second to last panel, the rage. And you have to love how they put it red, because the Hulk, but when he sees this, if you look in the next panel, the girl is getting scared now. Now she's like, he's crazy right now. He can't, this is not good. Now she's scared for her own safety. Next page now. Then the Hulk looks around. You see him, he's starting to calm a little bit. And Langowski says something, and he's like, if you're going to fight, if you want to still do this, he goes, I'll still fight you if you want to hurt me. And the Hulk's like, he's pissed off now because he's kind of seeing what he did. He goes, bah, Hulk is finished. He goes, but what? He goes, I don't understand. And this is the moral of this. He goes, what is to understand? And remember, the Hulk is very smart, in his own way. Though he's childlike, he's very keen to this. And he's just like, please, Hulk, I'm sorry. And he goes, sorry? You are sorry? You tried to hurt Hulk? Maybe tried to kill him? And why? Because you thought you were strong? Because you thought you were stronger than, he knew what he was trying to do. Langowski is wrong in this. He is totally in the wrong. He started all this stuff. Next page now. But what does the Hulk say? No one is stronger than the Hulk. So the Hulk hits him away. And after all this is what makes this a classic Hulk story. It was Langowski's fault. It was his instigation. It was his miscalculation doing all this. And the Hulk ends the guy who ends up losing on the end because he lost a friend. And this shows you the tragic life of the Hulk. He was getting close with this girl. Maybe even could have called her a friend. Maybe he could have found some sort of love there. He doesn't know. But once again, somebody comes between him and some type of happiness, and he leaps off. Look at that last panel of the Hulk in tears. That's incredibly powerful. And seeing that as a kid, I totally related to him. Look, I'm almost tearing up a little right now because I remember, and it was I was so mad, and I remember yelling at the page, I hate you, Sasquatch. Leave him alone. It was so, but that was what it was. It was his arrogance, and he was totally in the wrong, Sasquatch. But the Hulk still ended up losing at the end, and tragic. That was a brilliant, pure Hulk story. I ranked it number 12 in my all-time top 20 list because it was a pure Hulk story, and I loved it, and I loved every minute of it. And Roger Stern with beautiful dialogue, and John Byrne and Sal Buscema, and what is the inker's name again, Steve?
Alfredo Akala.
Yeah, Alfredo Akala. Beautiful. So there we go. As a beautiful Hulk story that ends. Steve, what now? Your turn. What do we say? What do we talk about now?
You know, it's just really weird that you would choose this issue because, you know, when I was younger, I didn't have a lot of money, and that issue, the actual real American Annual, didn't exist in England. It wasn't there. However, they had an Incredible Hulk summer special from 1982, larger format, black and white. I had a great cover, and I just, you know, I flicked it open, took a look at a couple of pages, and I was like, I said, well, it's 50 pence, but I have to have this book. I have to. Sasquatch and Hulk. So I bought it, and I'm in Southend, you know, so I've got to check, you know, got to take the train back. And on the train, I'm reading this issue, and it was totally mesmerizing for me. And at that time, I didn't have many comics. I didn't have that many. So I would read it every night, and I read it every night for basically a year.
Yeah.
Okay. That's how much I had this annual.
Oh.
And again, it's when she's looking at the Hulk's face, and the beautiful wording that obviously is Roger Stern.
Yes.
When he said that the Hulk's face is a rictus, I remember thinking to myself, what is a rictus? What does that mean? Is that a level of anger that hasn't been reached before? I didn't know what it was because, you know, I'm a little kid. But again, the same emotional power that washed over you was washing over me just a couple of thousand miles away.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my word, the Hulk has got into such a rage. And I hadn't seen him in this type of rage before. He was really ticked off by this, and he was like, you know, let's finish this. Like, are you going to kill Sasquatch? The Hulk doesn't really kill people. He beats them and wins, but he doesn't kill them, you know. And so, yes, it's a lot of action going on in there, but the moral of that story is, and the way it turns.
Yeah.
She starts off like, oh, I'm going to help you, la la la, you're the Hulk, la la la. And in the end, she's like, oh my God, he's a vicious monster that's totally uncontrollable, and I feel safe now with Sasquatch.
Yes.
So, yes, and again, I read that annual again and again and again. And one of the first comics I bought when I came over to the States, I went to a comic shop, and I was going through the annuals, and you know, in America it was just awash with everything, and I was like, wow! And I took it home, and I was able to read it in color for the first time.
Oh my God! Yeah.
Yes, a very special annual. And as I said, maybe I mentioned this before, but when I met John Byrne in Chicago, maybe 3 years ago now, and we were in line, and John Byrne he's not at most shows. It's a very special event to see John Byrne. And there was a long line of people. But luckily enough, he was doing some business with Torpedo, and I had to take him some very special hardcovers for him to sign. So as I put them down there, I said, I know I'm not part of the line or anything, but I just want to say something to you. And I could see the people in line going, what the hell? This guy drops and puts up and he's going to speak to John Byrne. I could hear the puffing and puffing behind me. And I looked, and everyone had X-Men books, especially 137s in their hands.
Yeah.
And I said, John, I want to talk to you about a comic that means a lot to me, very special to me. And I could see his body language was like, oh, it's going to be Dark Phoenix. And I went, Hulk Annual 8. I was like, I don't know whether you realize how much power that had on me. And he went like this. He goes, oh. He goes, that was a great annual. He goes, let me explain it. Let me tell you. And suddenly he was, you know, he wasn't like sitting there like this. He was up. He was engaging, and he goes, "Yes." He goes, "Yeah, me and Roger had some great fun. We added some stuff in there, and I could see in his eyes he was so happy and refreshed that I wasn't talking about X-Men. I was talking about this little annual. I can guarantee you, no one had ever asked him about that annual.
I agree.
No, only me would talk about that, and so." I was like very thrilled. I was like, wow, because John does, he can be sort of
Gruff.
cold sometimes.
And gruff, yeah.
But suddenly he was engaged. He was happy. He was giving all many kudos to Roger Stern. And if you take a look at his interviews over the years, he has a love for Roger Stern. He's one of the few people that he really admires, and he would work in a second if they said, "Oh, we do it. Can you work with Roger Stern on a project?" That he would say yes.
Didn't he work with him, Steve? Didn't we work with him on Captain America too, with the
yes.
Baron, with the Baron Blood?
Definitely. Yes. Again. Yeah.
How good
John had his pick of the litter. He could have worked with anyone he wanted to, but when Roger Stern said, "Oh, let's work together," he was like, "Okay, we're going to do it." So yes. Great work from John Byrne, of course. Magnificent work from Roger Stern. Sal Buscema, of course. Yeah. For me, the ultimate Hulk artist, and will never be beaten. Never. And this issue showcases what Sal Buscema could do, which showcases the visceral power of the Hulk, which no other artist can do. Not even Herb Trimpe could match the visceral power of what Hulk could do. Mm-hmm. The way his fingers would tear through things, the way his fists would punch through concrete, bricks, or trees, or whatever it was. And, I spent years trying to explain this to people, because people are like, "Well, Steve, why aren't you reading the Micronauts?" I'm like, no, I don't want to read the pretty pictures about little toy things, okay? I want to read about the guy that's grabbing the earth and shaking it like a carpet, or cracking it open like an earthquake. I want to see that. That's what Sal Buscema does to me, and that's why on my entire body, the only tattoo that I got is a Sal Buscema piece.
Steve, you ready for this? I used to love how Sal Buscema would always draw the Hulk's foot, and then he would draw his toe in the ground, and then the other toes behind that. He did it so good. And sometimes in some comics, he would draw like a little dirt underneath that little toe. Yeah. Like that's how, and I noticed that. Now, see, I'm getting goosebumps because this is something people don't understand, why we do this podcast and why we can talk this way. These panels, these drawings, these stories, these colors were literally life-changing, like essence-changing. Like it moved me so much, like I almost went into a different reality. I mean, it just is so ingrained in my head that these pictures, that these stories are so powerful that I swear to God, when I'm about to cross over in death, there's a few things I'm going to be thinking about. And I will be thinking about the Hulk, and I will be thinking about this. I mean, I know that sounds crazy. Yeah, I'll think about my daughter. I'll think of some of those toys I had, but I'll be thinking about some of those comics that just stoked in my... And I know that sounds crazy. But Steve, when you were on the train, look, I'm going to start crying, but when you were on the train reading that and it just took you to another dimension, I remember sitting crisscross applesauce against the wall at recess and all that stuff and looking at this stuff, and I couldn't even really read right. But I understood all that power that it was like literally like a scalpel of power cosmic just writing on my head. So when I see those movies, when I see the Hulk TV series and all that stuff, I can see the panels. I see grids. Niall, I know that sounds nuts, but I see that.
I agree with you 100%, because when you're in love with a character and when you are in love with a comic series and the creators that are involved, it's not just ink, paper, and staples that you're holding. Like you actually go into it, and those panels, they become alive in our heads. They do. You'll see that motion, right? And the thing you picked up on with Sal, when Sal draws the Hulk, and for viewers out there, I don't know how much you're familiar with his work, but if you actually look at his panels, look for the details. There's one thing he will always show you, and that is how strong and powerful the Hulk is. From just his hand on a wall to the pinky going through the cement block to the toes crushing into the pavement, like you said. He took very small nuances that were put into these panels. He was able to show you visually what you could read. And it was just it was alive, dude. It was
Oh,
alive. I don't see that in new comics, man. You
oh,
don't get that same
yeah,
just raw primal power.
and Niall, I'm going to tell you to put up this picture too, because Steve, you know how you were talking about the Hulk lying down, talking, and Doc Samson is doing his study on the Hulk, and he's there. Just look at that first panel and look at the Hulk's fingers, like he has them like this. And I noticed all his little nails, and because you never really saw the Hulk in that position, especially when you were getting comics were very scarce.
Yes.
But exactly like you said, the Hulk's head leaning against that concrete contraption thing,
Yes.
and like and you're like, he's sitting there like how I can sit there.
Yes.
I used to play with the color forms, Steve, the Hulk color forms. And I used to mimic, and the Rhino was in there too, and then the Abomination was in there too. And I used to mimic the comics as you put them, and then you re-stick them, and then and I would be saying, "Step aside, Abomination. He's the Rhino's baby now." Oh my God, that was from Hulk 172. I mean, excuse me, 171.
Yes.
The Incredible Hulk at Bay. Oh my God. Okay, I'm just saying, but yes. I know we got to end this, but yes, Steve, you wrap this up, because I'm going to do what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to duck down a little bit and I'm going to cry a little bit in the corner. And then you're going to wrap this up and I'll come back and I'll be a man again. But I'll tell you, I love this shit so much. And I don't know. I can't. Okay. Go ahead, Steve. Please wrap it up.
And again, I always find it surprising, when John comes up with something, goes, okay, this is going to be one of my special issues. So last week, when he said that we were going to do this annual, I was laughing to myself, because it really is. And I know, I don't know whether, Niall, you said it was some sort of bromance. But it just seems so weird to me that someone else was liking this issue as much as me. Because for me, this was a very personal issue. And I was like, this book's been done for me. And in my own little childlike mind at the time, or young mind, I should say, I was like, I'm the only one that's reading this. And this story has been produced just for me. And I'm the only one that understands it like this. So here we are in 2022. And here we are. And I'm discovering that, Mr. John Cimino, little John Cimino, was impacted just as much as me. It's absolute insanity. And I really have loved this episode. And I just want anyone who's watching to understand that it doesn't have to be a big, famous key issue. It can be something that reached you, something that touched you. And that's what I love about this series. There's going to be stuff, big key issues, big events. There's going to be big creators that we're talking to on this. But every now and again, we're going to have a moment like this, which is a very private moment that both me and John had with this issue, that some people will have never read, will be completely unaware. And this is the kicker. When they go out now and read this issue, I'm gonna love to see what their reaction is, and see, if someone can read it, come back, send us some comments and say, hey, I had never read a Hulk issue before, or I never bought the annuals before, and this is what it meant to me now. And that means that's what makes it so special to me. So that's how I want to wrap it up. I'm very, very pleased with today's episode.
That was great. And as always, I mean, it's very infectious, the passion you guys have for these. And for me, reading annual number 8, Steve, the first time I actually read it was Friday, this past Friday.
Oh, wow.
I read it and I was like, wow, this is incredible. And right there, and for anyone that has, again, please read it and put some comments below. Annual number 8, for me, Marvel's TV sensation. It really did. It brought me back to the TV series. But it also brought me that emotion of I felt Hulk again, again, you're doing it. You guys started getting me into Thor again, and now Hulk again, and just feeling that raw emotion of just he never wins. He wins the fight, but he doesn't win the war. At the
Yes.
end of the day, the protagonist seems to walk away the victor, and he's there lonely again. And it's just but you want him to win. You want him with the girl in the end, and it is an awesome manual. Something I would have never read it. And that's what's great about you guys diving into these books. And that's where I'm going to end it there with my comments is read it and put in the comments below. Let us know if you felt that way.
Yes. Definitely.
John, John, are you all set now?
Are you alive, John?
Have the tears. All right, there we go.
Steve, get us out of here.
All right, guys. Thank you so much. Get ready for a lot more stuff. Boom!
Hey everyone, thank you for joining us on Pop XP. If you haven't already, make sure to click that subscribe button and also click the bell for notifications when we go live and we upload some awesome new content. Also, don't forget to head on over to Twitter and follow us at the Pop XP and over on Instagram at the Pop XP. Thanks again everyone, and we'll see you soon.